Welcome to the Impact Over Optics podcast, a place where real progress shines beyond appearances and distractions. Here, voices from across industries come together to share wisdom, stories, and strategies that remind us what's possible when purpose leads the way. Because true progress is not measured by how it looks, but by the impact it leaves behind. Let's get started.
Welcome to Impact Over Optics, the podcast where we go beyond appearances and focus on what really moves the needle: authentic leadership, purposeful results, and lasting impact. I'm your host, Dave Dieffenbach, and I'm joined today by Kristin Wuhrman. Kristin is a leading voice in feline health, behavior, and care delivery, with more than 20 years of experience across veterinary medicine, diagnostics, animal health, technology, and consumer pet care. She is also the co-founder and chief experience officer of Cats Only Veterinary Services, a first-of-its-kind collaborative network of feline-only hospitals designed around species-specific medicine, behavior-informed care, and emotionally intelligent clinical experiences. Kristin has held senior leadership roles across the animal health ecosystem, including at companies like Trupanion, VetStreet, Zoetis, Siva, and Basepaws, where she led veterinary strategy and served as the R&D liaison through the company's acquisition by Zoetis. She is chair of Catalyst Council, advancing feline medicine and welfare through research, shared data, and cross-industry collaboration. She is also a certified cat behavior consultant and a frequent writer and contributor, an advisor and early-stage investor supporting founders building the next wave of cat-specific innovation. Outside of work, she enjoys running, hiking, biking, and anything that gets her outside and on the trail. And oh yeah, she loves vegan cooking, and she really loves cats. Kristin, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
I'm excited. We've known each other for years, and a lot of these topics are something I know about you, and I'm looking forward to people learning more about you as well. Generally, when we get started, we like to start just because I know you, asking you questions around something that you're proud of, something you're working on currently that gets you excited, that you love to share.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it in the intro. Thank you for that again. And that, probably the most exciting project I'm working on is Cats Only. And what's really unique about it is that we're designing the feline experience entirely through the cat's lens. And so what that really means is rethinking environment, communication, flow, how caregivers are supported, so that care really does become more preventative. But what also excites me about this is not just the medicine, it's going to create a clearer, calmer experience for people. And this is what happens when observation leads. So I always like to say, and I'll talk about observation a lot today.
Right.
I'm a big believer in that as a foundation.
One for anyone watching this podcast, we'll be disappointed if we don't see cats walking in your background. How many are you currently sharing your home with?
I've got 3 senior kitties, and they're all here.
That's
on their
awesome.
beds. So maybe
And
we'll
you posted a video, or Cats Only posted a video at the cat level. I loved it the other day. Literally was walking around at the camera down at the cat level. That was a pretty neat touch.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Well, we're talking this month about daily habits for success. And this is a broad topic. We can really go anywhere you want with it. But we'll start with just describing one daily habit that's changed your life for the good.
Yep. It has been morning running for as long as I can remember. And it's really not fitness for me. I mean, fitness, yes, like it's healthy. We understand all this. But for me, it's a regulation piece. And I wake up with a lot of energy, not just physical energy, but mental energy. And I'm also, I have a very pattern sensitive brain. So I'm waking up like thinking, scanning, connecting dots. But before I can really start my day, that running always gives me an outlet for that energy to go. Otherwise it turns into noise. And so I rely on that run. Whatever I have ahead, that run's going to allow me that time to just think through it. So running. And then within the run, which I know that we've talked about this before, is I have a tiny ritual. And that is, I'll be running and then I'll just stop and do these like high jumps. And they're kind of weird jumps. And I'm sure it looks ridiculous, but I genuinely look forward to it. It's that quick burst of like energy, and everything in my head gets quiet. And so it's very grounding, playful, and it kind of tells me like, okay, I'm here. So it's kind of a grounding, live in the moment piece.
It's awesome. I've never asked this question before, but was that a Kristin innovation, or did you learn that from somebody?
It was a Kristin innovation. I grew up having trampolines, and I grew up doing gymnastics, and I think it's just, I believe for me, active meditation is a real thing. Yeah. So it's kind of like a still within a movement. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, one of the best things I ever did in my own running was leave the watch at home or not look at it. And I think that's also a way, what you're talking about is you take it a little less seriously. You're not trying to see how fast you can go, right? You're not trying to see how many minutes you can shave off. You're having fun while you're also doing a very strong mental process.
Yes, exactly.
So how much flexibility do you allow in that routine? Are you running every day or do you stick
Yeah,
to
that's
it?
a good question. I do run almost every day. I have allowed myself over the years because I've had some injuries that I could walk instead or hike as another outlet. So it's kind of, having flexibility in a ritual is critical. I would highly, from something I look back in time, getting rid of the rigid rules is essential to feel grounded in your
Yeah,
ritual because the goal isn't really just consistency for its own sake. It's more about the attunement factor of it. And so when it stops supporting the awareness of care, it's not useful. So I always say, like, I have flexibility, but within a structure.
I like that. What is that? What the word attunement means to you?
Yeah, like really connecting with where you're at that time.
Yeah.
And I think having that awareness factor is the key piece.
Flexibility is so important. So many of these things like meditation apps they're trying to get you to buy into the streaks. And I used to get frustrated. And I love the fact that you've learned, just like I have, that it's more about the process. It's less about the keeping track.
To 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So your bio, a lot of words made me have to, I probably stuttered a couple of times. You're doing a lot. And when we move this into from morning running into the day for work, how do you protect your time from distraction or in meetings? How do you do that during the day?
Yeah, it's a constant a constant thing I have to be aware of. So for me, it's I try to protect my time by being clear about what requires my cognitive depth versus like what doesn't, because it's very easy to just kind of say yes to everything, and before you know it, your brain is being maxed out. So I really try to avoid back-to-back meetings. Sometimes it's impossible, but like those little breaks are really important. Otherwise, for me, it overloads my nervous system, probably like others, and I lose that ability to be present. So I try really hard that like open space where I can think and build. But it's constant. It's a constant thing I have to manage.
What do you do in those breaks? So I know back-to-back meetings well, and I don't love them. What do you do in those little breaks?
Get up and move around. Yeah. I mean, if the break is really minimal, it just 5 minutes allows me, whether it's some planks on the floor or doing a lap around the house or feeding cats or doing something that is just away from the digital and the stimulation.
Yeah, get away from the computer. And I
Get
think
away from the computer.
in this
Yes.
month when I started, I think I've probably said it a bunch of times, and I'm regularly complaining about the Zoom fatigue.
Yeah. It's
But I find
real.
it interesting when you take your breaks, you actually do something physical, which is great, right? The Japanese stand up and they all do calisthenics together.
That's so great.
I've never seen you do a plank in the middle of a meeting, but it's kind of funny to think about.
I'll have to do that.
Yeah, yeah. So great. So I guess you may have answered this right now, but as we move into the day, how do you reset yourself during the day? Is it that same way? Is it those 5-minute breaks?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely breaks and movement. I also really try to like reset through the environment because, a lot of stimulation with digital communication and how things are very sudden, but it's stepping away from bright light, going outside and breathing some air. And I also like repetitive routines. So I know, okay, if I go outside and walk around the house and take a few breaths and come in and do a plank, like I'm going to feel good. So it's
Nice.
kind of having that predictability that you know what you'll feel like if you do those things.
Right. Yeah. That's you're training your body and your mind, right?
Yes, exactly.
Predictability. Yeah. What did
Yeah.
you do during the recent absolutely ridiculous cold stretch we both dealt with? How did you deal with that? Did you go outside and walk around in the cold?
Sadly, I didn't go outside much because it was so cold. I used the treadmill, which I'm fortunate to have for the winter months, but is doing a lot of just self-resistance things,
Yeah. Yeah.
weights.
It's kind of forced, right? So
Yeah,
earlier when we talked about modifying your routine, I wasn't happy about it, but I did it.
but you did it. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
worked, right? Yeah.
It did. I don't have the ritual routine you do for every day. I just started running again, but it feels great. Reminding myself why winters are so hard on me
Yeah,
because I don't run as much for sure.
totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, let's move back. Let's stay at the work side. A lot of what we talk about here is work and leadership. But when you are getting ready, planning for your day, whether it be a Sunday or Monday, thinking about the next day, how do you plan, or do you do it in the next morning? Just go with it.
I definitely have like very light, high level planning, but I don't like to weigh my brain down before I go to bed because I know I've got
Mm.
that morning run that gives me clarity. So I usually wake up with direction, but then but my main thing is I want to respond to how my energy shows up that day. So I've learned to just trust that process, knowing I have that early outlet in the morning to think through some active meditation. But yeah, it's
That,
worked for
that's
me.
it. That's interesting though, because if your energy, let's say you wake up in the morning and you're feeling a little off, what do you do to adjust? Or do you ever just cancel meetings and call it a mental health day? How do you adapt to that
Mm,
unexpected energy?
I seem to make it work out somehow. As long as I can like get some movement in, I seem to work it out. Even if I have to modify, like with traveling, you can't have the exact same routine and ritual, right? But
Right.
I still have an outlet in the morning to think that's moving.
Do you ever do moving meetings?
I do, but I normally make the people on the other side feel a little nauseous.
Yeah. I talked about this with the group too, that I used to do running one-on-ones with a boss of mine.
Yeah.
And John, the other consultant, does walks with one of his bosses. So you don't do those often?
No, but I do have some, I don't know if I have it here, some bands. I'll just sit in my chair and do the band work.
Yeah.
Or I
Yeah.
have
Because
little
people,
3-pound weights at the desk. So I
that's
try to do
great.
things I'm not
Yeah.
sweating.
Everything for you is tying back to that mix of stillness versus movement, right? You need
Yeah.
to have both of it. I do love the idea though. One of the hard things with remote work is you can't take the work necessarily with you. How about, do you ever get a chance to do walking talks where you're just off video and you're actually talking on the phone while you're walking?
Yes, as much as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I find them to be very valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't always have to look at slides, right?
Right, exactly. It's kind of a nice freedom.
Talk about a little bit about the tools. So the night before you're planning lightly. Next morning you jump in, you meditate, and you have some clarity over what your energy feels. But what kind of tools are you using to plan your day?
I've tried about every tool out there, and I find myself best with like very simple. So I have sticky notes on my desk. I color code them.
Yeah,
Yes,
same here.
exactly. Yes.
Notes everywhere.
Isn't that great? Yeah. So clear priorities. I'm very visual, so having visual organization is important to me. But overcomplicated systems create like a lot of noise, and so I learn to try to just build structure that feels more supportive through these pen to paper things that we've done, all of our life.
That's
And
right.
it's I try not to. Yeah, it works.
It works. Are you rewriting those lists often, or do you just sort of scratch them off as they go?
Yes. Oh yes. How about you?
Yeah, every day,
Yes.
if not every day, every week, I'm rewriting the list. I'm looking around right now at the mess that is my desk, and I'm glad people can't see it, but it's useful for me. I brought a highlighter back from the last conference, and I'm using it probably too much to say this is important, this isn't. But
Yeah.
rewriting lists is actually really cathartic to me.
Yep.
Oftentimes, it shows progress, but it also allows me to change the priorities.
Yes. Same.
Yeah.
These are my new highlighters, just so you know.
Well, we're way too similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these cats, all these highlighters.
Yes, all the highlighters.
So over time, our habits evolve, and have you ever had rituals that you've tried that just have backfired and failed on you?
Yeah, oh yeah, of course. I mean, to me, any ritual that's become about control instead
Hmm.
of care failed, like always. And so what I've learned is that rituals should really be like for me to support listening and not override it. And so when I stop forcing structure and respond more to signals, then it works. So it's really just that control factor that you got to get out of your own way and
Yeah.
understand.
Give me an example, if you could, of a ritual that, whether you don't have to get into too much detail, but something that was
Yeah.
structured that just didn't fit
Mm,
Kristen.
A great question. I mean, it's actually the use of a tool.
Hmm.
And so having to pre-plan a meeting through a tool and pre-plan all the notes and the status, I could just write it in an email or put it on pen and paper. And so
Yeah.
I think I forced myself to use it and it ended up costing me three times the amount of time when I could have just written on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So that's not a great example, but it
Well,
wasn't
my
a
guess is, and tell me if this is resonates or not, but you and I both worked in corporate America before, and they provide templates and required structure. My guess is
yeah,
that unless it happens to fit your style, you've probably struggled with making
yeah,
that part of your routine.
perfect. Yes.
Yeah,
So I found
yeah,
myself doing it twice. One that I had to do and then my version. Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, and the one sticks with you. The other one you learn
Yeah.
to go away from. Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's go out. Let's go off script a little bit because we haven't talked about cats yet. Tell me, have you learned anything from your cats when it comes to daily rituals and routines? Have they taught you anything?
I know. Yes. Oh, they've taught me so many things, probably just like yours. Predictability. So for cats, when they predict their environment, their routines, they're calm.
Yeah.
They eat better, they sleep better, and they interact differently. And so for me, that is very similar. I learned that I like structure and I like routine. Hence what we're talking about here today with rituals. And I just feel a little bit more in control of how I am present. And so that's one of them. The other thing is trust. Cats, they really trust us when we're there with them, we're connected with them. So understanding the trust factor, um, and the observation piece of that trust, like when you feel it, I'm going on a little bit of a hole
Do
here,
it.
but
Yeah.
like, yeah, when I know I can trust a person or situation because I've done the observation, I have the ritual, I have the predictability, like I'm not stressed. So
Yeah.
I think it's, trust, predictability, And the present, living in the present is probably the most. Like they are all in the present. And I've learned a lot with all my cats. I have 3 cats right now. We had 6 at one time. And even those that I lost, like even at the end, like they lived in the present and they enjoyed every little tiny moment, no matter what was going on. And so I try to always reflect and think about that because
Yeah.
life goes too fast.
We need to write a book at some point about how you can learn. I wrote a blog one time about meditating with cats, and it's all about what they teach you. It's fascinating because earlier before we started recording, we were talking about how we both have hearing impaired cats. And imagine the difference between a hearing impaired person and a hearing impaired cat. My cat acts totally normal. Like does almost like she forgot she could hear. She just adapted. She was resilient is probably a good word for it.
Yeah, it's very true. Because you've learned how to, about her environment, what she needs too. And
Yeah.
so she doesn't, she understands that she can trust and feel comfortable in her environment, even without
Yeah.
having.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I wish that cats could do a little bit more of is I really want a support cat that I can take into
Oh yeah.
assisted living facilities and others, but it's just not fair to the cats, right? You can do it
I
with
know.
dogs. Rarely. I've seen 1 or 2 cats in my life who adjust that well, but it's pretty rare to
Yeah,
find a cat who is willing to just change atmospheres or environments regularly.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let's go into what we do some rapid reflection questions, and there's no
Okay. Yep.
set number of words. Just first thing that comes to mind. Do you have a daily mantra or personal mission statement?
Yes, I kind of teased it when we start. Observation is care, like my favorite thing. You got to be present, got to observe. There's a lot that comes out of just observation.
That's fantastic. What's one physical habit you'd never skip, even on your busiest days?
Movement in the morning.
Yeah, I was going to guess that one.
Yeah.
And then what advice would you give your younger self about structure and success?
Rigidity, like don't mistake rigidity for discipline. Yeah, the goal is sustainability. So I think
Yeah.
a lot of times we think about being intense, but that's really not going to be it in the long run.
Awesome. Let's go back to this observation is care because I like it. And I'm going to try to incorporate it into my life too. When you're
Okay.
building this cats only veterinary services, right? First of its kind, species specific care. Tell me a little bit about how you're influencing the model and what you sort of expect that mantra to help you and your staff
Yes.
provide better care.
Yep. So that first and foremost, who are we building for? What species? What systems? And it's the cat. So by just putting yourself in the cat for a moment, and that takes an understanding about feline behavior, feline body language, the biology of the cat. So understanding like the species itself, and then going through an entire experience from what the cat lives in the home environment to the travel to the hospital itself to the experience in the hospital, the travel back home. Once you're viewing it from the lens of that cat, what they go through, then the building part becomes a lot easier. And so I've observed cats my entire life through rescue work, my own cats, and even through my cat behavior consulting and then studying cats. Like it's just second nature for me. So I'm influencing the entire experience with cats only. And not just the cat, but like how their caregiver is experiencing that with them at the same time, because that bond itself is just as important. But it's everything from how we help prepare them at home, how we guide them on the travel. The hospital itself is very different than any other vet hospital. It has very unique features that are specifically for the cat species to minimize stress. And that comes down to even, what the exam rooms look like and what we do in the exam rooms.
It's awesome. And I'm actually intentionally trying to balance some of my other 2 consulting colleagues. They got heavy into athletic routines and the rituals, which is important. And we got into it too. But I think what's interesting about our discussion here is pointing out too what we can learn from other species, right?
Yeah.
My cats both drive my routine, which can drive my partner crazy, as well as I can learn from them, right? The fact that they're in the moment, they trust, and they're just present. Even though this one over here in the corner, no one can see, sleeps about 16 hours a day now. I'm a little jealous of that routine.
Yes. Right on.
That's right on.
Yeah,
Well,
you said something that made me think, and I would
yeah.
try to get back. But I think too with cats, like patience is important because understanding, especially you have cats that have had some health conditions
Oh, yeah.
as I did, and sometimes we want to force them into our routines and what we need to do, and just taking a step back. When you say they guide your routines, they guide my routines too. Like you kind of put yourself patient and calm and kind of understand where they're at, and then you're in a really special situation. That attunement as well there.
That's a great word for what we have with our cats, right? And it doesn't happen right away. People want cats to like you right away, and it can happen, but once they trust you through that routine and the safety you provide them, I think you
Right.
both attune.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. It's awesome. Yay, cats. If listeners walk away with just one message from you today, what would you want that to be?
I think it's that rituals don't have to be super impressive to be powerful. They're really what you make them out to be. But if they help you listen better to everything, right? Your work, your body, the animals you care for, the people, then you got to protect it. So real impact comes from the actual attention, not the performance.
That's awesome. And it's a great theme throughout. Live in the moment, like the cats, and pay attention to the process more than the actual absolute discipline. That's awesome. Well, Kristin, I want to thank you for joining me. Thank you for being a friend. And thank you all for joining us on the Impact Over Optics podcast. Please follow Kristin on LinkedIn. We'll have some show notes on where you can find her. Until next time, I'm Dave Dieffenbach. And remember, optic change always outlasts appearance. Until next time, lead with purpose and leave a real mark.
Thanks again for joining us on the Impact Over Optics podcast. We hope today's insights sparked fresh ideas and reminded you of the power of purpose-driven work. Please share this episode with others who believe in real change, and join us again as we continue to look beyond appearances and focus on the impact that truly lasts.